G'day and welcome to the review of the WWE United Kingdom Championship Special. This is like one of the second times I think that, no, it is the second time that the WWE United Kingdom brand has had a pay-per-view, or in this case a special dedicated to it. So it was going to be an all UK tournament kind of bill, but then they had some 205 people in there. I don't know why. Maybe it's just to bring some extra
You
star
gotta do
power.
something
Quote.
other than lose to Neville.
I mean, it's weird, and we've brought this up before, but Neville is like a UK citizen, so it's like he could come here and still
Yeah, but he's far too good for that.
far too good. So here we have the first pay-per-view that's kind of standalone by themselves after the establishment of the brand itself. And before we get into anything, Jesse, how do you think WWE is dealing with its UK brand?
It's doing all right. I like it better when it's by itself, because if you pair it with 205 Live, it sort of brings down the UK.
So, do you feel like it's better than the cruiserweight division, or do you feel like it's worse?
I feel like it's far better.
Interesting.
Cruiserweight's just there's like three people that actually matter in it, and everyone else is trash.
And
Like, fucking TJP can wipe out the entire roster. You know it's terrible.
and it's weird because, like, with the exception of a couple of promos and a match here and there, the UK brand doesn't get that much exposure either. So, I mean, to say that, I mean, Jesus, fucking hell, get the cruiserweights up to standard WWE. I mean,
Or just get rid of them.
or just get rid of them and just keep Neville as like the cruiserweight champ for all time.
Yeah, man.
I'm the only one in this cruiserweight division. But anyway, so we're going to go into the match of Wolfgang versus Joseph Connors. So for the people at home, Joseph Connors is the guy that we talked about in the UK tournament that had his ear cut, and Wolfgang is the Scottish competitor. Now, first of all, shouts out to the WWE Network for being shit. And I just want to say that before I continue on any further. But this match, kind of basic stuff. I wasn't expecting much from it, and because of that, I don't think that I was hurt in seeing anything in this match. It was very, very much Wolfgang's style of, like, I'm going to be slow, methodical, big man kind of match. And Joseph Connors wasn't really a slouch. It's just, at the end of the day, this match becomes very forgettable, and especially when it gets the card gets so stacked top heavy with the later on matches. But yeah. So I mean, obviously, you said that of the people in the UK, you actually do care about Wolfgang. Do you want them to do anything better? Because ultimately, Wolfgang did go on to defeat Joseph Connors.
I do like Wolfgang. I like his whole look and style and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like much like Triple H, so he needs good opponents to make him look good, though.
Yep.
Like, he'd be good to, like, bounce off someone else, as most of the slow, cerebral types do.
Yep.
And I feel like his opponent just wasn't that.
Yes, I can completely agree. Watching this match was bizarre because, you see Wolfgang is generally a face. But, when he's in England, in Norwich, I believe the event was taking place. But yeah, so there was a lot of boos as well in the crowd. Don't get me wrong, the crowd was amazing. It's a good European crowd, and when it seems to go overseas there, you get your much more unique chants, which actually add flavour to the event. But it was bizarre to see that, like, Wolfgang wasn't getting cheered as much as he, should be at this stage. But anyway, it was all right, slightly underwhelming, but as I said, I went in with zero expectations, and those expectations were met.
Well, it would help if we could watch it all in one take instead of having to.
Yeah, this is
keep on
true as well.
reloading the fucking thing, because the network is a piece of shit.
And that is true. Next up, we get TJ Perkins and the Brian Kendrick. Although TJ Perkins is going by TJP these days, for whatever reason, but that combo is going up against Rich Swann and his UK brand ally, Dan Maloney. Now, I mean,
This match is just, let's watch Rich Swann do stuff.
yeah, exactly. And Rich Swann is always fun to watch. Brings a level of fun and just positivity and this energy to the
Yeah.
crowd as well. I mean, this was like when he was coming out and doing his thing and like in his intro, the crowd were really into it and having fun. And
Yeah.
it's good to see that like even though obviously we talk a lot of shit about 205 Live because it deserves it, but you can see that there are people in the cruiserweights that can still elicit that wrestler response that might even be more so than certain other people on the main SmackDown and Raw brands. But Rich Swann is continuously doing great. He was you know what? I feel like Dan Maloney unfortunately gets lost in this match, and I know that he was the UK competitor of the show, but he kind of gets lost amongst the 205 people here. Not just only because they outnumber him like 3-1, but they were just doing more. Like the Brian Kendrick, especially doing his heel shit. TJP trying to do
Yeah.
super athletic stuff. Rich Swann doing his charismatic thing.
It definitely felt like because it's fucking WWE, although it starts from them and not from the UK. It was definitely a gimmick heavy match. So it was less about wrestling and more about just the fun spots.
Yeah.
So if you have an actual wrestler and they're trying to do wrestling stuff, it's sort of like it doesn't really fit properly.
And I hate to say it to Dan, but while he was okay in the match, I didn't see anything outstanding from him either, and he definitely felt overshadowed. But that also could be because at least when it comes to 205 Live, out of all the people in the cruiserweight division, TJ Perkins, the Brian Kendrick, and Rich Swann are actually pretty established people within that division.
Yeah.
At least when you think of the division, you think of them, and Neville, of course, who we mentioned before, and I'd say Austin Aries, but I remember him for other reasons than just the cruiserweights. So I'm not sure if that's because WWE's billing
He's
him.
a great commentator, not really.
He's a great.
He's an average.
He worked all around the world, and he was having total non-stop action while he was doing it, and it's just fired.
Really made an impact in all that world.
Fired. Just two people got fired instantaneously, but
Fuck that out.
so I don't know. It was an all right tag team match. Nothing super special. TJP and the Brian Kendrick pick up the win, and through heel shit maneuvers, grabbing the tights at the very end, and yeah, I don't know. It was all right. The crowd was very into it. But I don't know. There just wasn't really much there for me, and I feel like since it's the UK show and they're trying to show off.
It definitely felt to me like it was the gimmick match. Like you're not supposed to watch for the wrestling, you're supposed to watch for the characters.
Right.
Which is, I suppose they did well enough.
Yeah, and speaking of characters, I think that the next match with Trent Seven and Pete Dunne, those two competitors, even if we don't particularly like Mr. Mustache Mountain Trent Seven, those two definitely have character in the UK division. Like, Trent Seven is very popular for reasons that I don't understand. I guess it's because he has a mustache. And Pete Dunne, as
we have beside that.
I think as you made a remark of, Pete Dunne seems to be like the biggest heel, if not one of the only heels on the UK division.
Yeah. Well, all the people that are really like popular in the thing are all fucking faces.
Yeah. So before we get into that, Pete Dunne did attack Trent Seven and hurt his arm before this event. How do you feel about Pete Dunne in general?
I don't. The more I watch him, the more I don't mind him.
Mm-hmm.
We should stop fucking doing that thing with his lip.
Yeah, where he just raises one bit of his lip to
edgy.
sneer.
It's like whenever you see like shithead kids that think they're gangster.
Yeah, and
that's what they do. So I'm like,
Well, it might be because he's younger than us, like Pete Dunne.
I don't know. I feel like 10-year-olds do that.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, and part of me always wonders when this kind of thing happens is it him being an effective heel that it's pissing us off? Is it
Maybe.
him? Is
I
it?
don't know.
And I the character I believe Pete Dunne is like the sneering shithead that you just pretty much mentioned. I figure that was his character, and he's very up himself, and he knows that he can carry himself well within the division, and that he's with his whole style of joint manipulation that they continue on. It's
master of joint manipulation.
the master of joint manipulation. But
Billy Wristlock.
Billy Wristlock. But anyway, it's like you see that he has that sadistic style to match up his personality as well. So I mean, I wish that he did more in his promos than just say, "My name is Pete Dunne." And
It's
I
my
think
championship, even though I clearly lost it.
when I was going after the championship and I did heel shit, I still lost. It's basically mine though. It's just like, okay, buddy. I mean,
You can think of something better than just like I want it. Like, because the problem is every single person's unit, fucking promo was just, it's my championship.
but yeah.
And only one of them was right.
So this match was good. And
Yeah,
this
I like it.
this was especially we see the dragon suplex on the apron.
Yeah.
And even though this would be replicated in similar form later on, this was like great. I was not expecting that, nor was I expecting the amount of
Not
like
from those two guys.
yeah, nor was I expecting the amount of selling of his injured arm that Trent Seven did. And while there was one instance that I can think of where he did the modern thing of like, oh, fight through the pain, which I was like, you know, just being an old school kind of guy, that's not my cup of tea in particular.
Doesn't fit the storyline.
Yeah, where he lifted up Pete, who was trying to do like pretty much injure his arm, and he was just like, yeah, I can fight through it, and you know, I was like, no, don't do that.
Like, you can do that normally, but against Pete Dunne specifically,
Yeah.
you shouldn't, because the entire thing is that he does that.
Yeah. Now,
It's like doing it against, like, Ric Flair. Doesn't make sense.
yeah, it's just like I see this match, and as I said, even though I don't like Trent Seven, it's clear that he's a good wrestler. At least he can go in the ring, and while I might not say he's exceptional, he's also able to, you know, make the claim that he is a wrestler. He can definitely say that. There's other people that make that claim that I'm like, really? But
Yeah, he definitely looks like a wrestler. So.
exactly. And the fact that he's so over with the crowd really works in his favor of like saying, okay, well, there definitely is an audience for him. Now, Pete Dunne does manage to pick up the win here with the bitter end. And how do you feel about him becoming the number one contender to the WWE United Kingdom Championship?
I like it because it has a nice classic face versus heel coming up, and Pete Dunne being the most legitimate heel in that entire roster, I feel it'd be good, especially because then he can let Talabate do all these bullshit anti-heel stuff. It's like, oh yes, but I'm just going to be a gentleman and be fair, and then Pete Dunne's like the opposite of being fair.
Yeah.
So there'd be some cool shit to play off from that.
This match went for around 15 minutes or over 15 minutes, and it didn't feel like it. It was a very good match, and man, it's just impressive to come and see some really good wrestling.
It's refreshing.
Yeah, I mean, we don't...
It's like, oh yeah, that's why I like wrestling, I forgot.
I feel like we don't get this enough from the main brands. And it's times like this when we do get to come back and watch, okay, let's watch the UK brand, or even when we go watch like an NXT takeover event where we can get some, hey, yeah, this is really cool. Obviously, each brand has its faults, but I feel like with the UK division just coming up as it is, it's doing really well. And as long as it continues to grow and continue with this level of quality, I see no issues in the future. In fact, I see it being, as we mentioned earlier, I'd think it'd even be more relevant than the Cruiserweight division, as it is at the moment. But no, Pete Dunne picks up the win here and will be going to be the number one contender. So later on we have the final match of the short special that this was, which was Mark Andrews versus the UK champion Tyler Bate. Now, as we mentioned before, Tyler Bate, we have only one issue with him, and that seems to be the aeroplane spin. I think we can agree on that.
Yeah, it's like some old moves work, but that one doesn't.
Yes, and it's very difficult to criticize the dude for this because his whole gimmick of being the old wrestler and the gentleman of the forgotten time, it's like, yeah, we know, but it's like, even if you want to do that, everything else you do is great. It's just the one thing that people do not like about you. Well, when I say people, I mean the older wrestling fans and even some more modern people, but the crowd seems to love it. But that might just be because they love Tyler Bate, because boy, do they. Those chants continued up again, and it was like everyone was getting hype and, give us a wave, Tyler, give us a wave. And then when he waves, yay! But yeah, it's always fun to go in and see a hyped crowd like that, and then when you get to the main event, see the crowd so into it.
It's always fun to see a face that you actually want to cheer for. Doesn't
Yeah.
happen often.
Especially not these days. But we had one of those matches that supposedly is impossible to work, which is the face versus face match, because we have Mark Andrews from Wales, Ryan's favourite, similar heritage, and then they have Tyler Bate, who was also very popular, but it was in England. So the only thing that would be against Mark Andrews' favour is that he's not the hometown guy. But no, the crowd was really happy with Mark Andrews, even saying Mandrews at some point. But getting into the match itself, we had a lot of hold-to-hold sort of lock-up scenarios, which dominated the first portion of this match, and I really enjoyed that. Seeing them go from hold to hold at this slower but more deliberate pace it was really unique to me because you don't see that anywhere else on the WWE brand. I feel that with doing all these locks up, it gave a sense of the old-fashioned legitimacy that the wrestlers would try and do.
Definitely.
And it was refreshing that while, the bigger spots which would cause the crowd to get really excited did come, the crowd was watching this and they were like impressed with how each would get out of the various maneuvers. And as an audience member, so was I. It was great to see that the WWE had booked a pay-per-view or a special in a way that made sense, in the fact that throughout the entire card, the tension and the hype was building as it should, to when we get to the final match, the main event, and it felt like a main event, and everyone was ready to see how the night was going to end. So, all these things were culminating to, like, an amazing match. We have Mark Andrews doing that, reversing that Tiger Driver off the ropes.
Yes.
That was like, oh my goodness. And I mentioned earlier that in regards to the Dragon Suplex earlier, there was the Standing Slice Bread Part 2 on the ring edge as well. Now, obviously when the camera went back to the second time, I think it did itself a bit of a disservice. But the initial impact in the showing of the move, that was really great. And I was like, wow, this is what I want to be watching. If these guys were on a main level, I feel like this would not do anyone a disservice on that similar card. Like, if these guys were on a WrestleMania, or if these guys were on a SummerSlam, this match would not be out of place amongst the bigger matches. Maybe they wouldn't have the same name recognition, but they would certainly have the same quality and skill to help fit them in there.
I mean, they'd definitely be great to fight the Hardy Boys with.
Yeah, like, that would be fun. The clothesline off the rope bounce, I don't know what to call this. I'd never seen it before, where Tyler Bate did the run into the ropes, which then made him bounce off where he could turn around and deliver a clothesline. I'd never seen that before.
It was like, oh, what the fuck? Also, they're fucking the upside down Boston crab claw.
Yeah, and how he was just swinging him like a pendulum.
Fucking pin. I was like, oh, that's sick.
Mark Andrews was great in this. I feel like
It built him really well because he was holding his own, doing all the counters on the mat work, and then he would use his high flying moves as make them actually special.
Yeah.
Just throwing them out and whatever.
And there was a lot of reversals that were they seemed really natural. It wasn't just like it was forced.
Everything into a hurricane run. Gotcha.
Yeah, pretty much, man. And I like at the start of the match where we do the obviously Tyler Bates' character being the gentleman, where it's like he shook his hand at the start, and then when he catches him in the air, and he held him up in the air, instead of delivering the slam, and the crowd was going, oh, just building up for the slam, he just puts him gently on the top rope, and he's just smiles and walks backwards so he can, come down and continue the...
He gets down, shakes his hands, yeah, thanks for that, man.
Yeah, it's all right, yeah. I don't need to deliver that. We're having the mat work at the moment.
So gentlemanly.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Not the time for that.
But no, it was fun. It was great. I still like the Tyler Bate character, and Mark Andrews, for me, his stock increased personally.
This was okay, this is what everyone was talking about.
Exactly. And we did have this match finally come to close with the Tyler Driver 97 finish. This match was great. This was like, I always get really excited, and I have this passion to talk about these good matches when I see them, and this is definitely one that I would recommend that people out there go and see. Um, Even if you're not a big fan of the UK brand, if you just want to see like a couple of good matches, go watch the Pete Dunne vs Trent Seven and the Tyler Bate versus Mark Andrews, because you'll definitely see, even if you're not familiar with any of
Then
them.
they bring back the dead art of storytelling with pins.
Exactly, it's great, and if you know nothing about wrestling, you'll watch the Pete Dunne versus Trent Seven, and you'll be able to tell immediately which one's the bad guy. And then if you know nothing about Tyler Bate and Mark Andrews, you'll be like, man, these two guys are like really good competitors. So you'll get like, oh man, and you won't know who's gonna win. So it's like it's a lot of fun. And even when it was over and Tyler Bate retained his WWE United Kingdom Championship, I was like, okay, cool. I wasn't displeased.
Like, Mark Andrews lost cleanly, but didn't lose anything from it.
Yeah, exactly. And when Mark Andrews was being helped to the back by the referee after the 20 plus minute long match, once again, didn't feel like that. He was attacked by Pete Dunne. And Pete Dunne is making this part of his gimmick almost, where it's just like he'll just attack people for no reason. If he has to verse them, he'll attack them before the match. But even people that even people that he's not going to verse, he'll attack them anyway, just because he's like,
they're still competitors.
Exactly, I suppose that they're all in the division that he would like to make known that he's aiming for the top. But then he comes out and it's implied that he might be going to attack the tired Tyler Bate, but William Regal comes out and he makes staunch sure.
A manager that does their job.
Exactly, and he's just like, let's keep this, classy gentleman. No, this was fucking great. I mean, this was much better than the previous event of Payback, and it was just like, I feel like I'm excited to see more from the United Kingdom brand, and
I want to see more of someone.
I know it's crazy and bizarre, and if you could just
Shinsuke Nakamura.
Offer your final thoughts on the thing, Jesse.
Tyler Bates is basically just Jonathan Joestar crossed with Dudley. That last match was stellar. Just like the best fucking thing I've seen in a long time. I feel like 205 Live is being propped up by the UK Championship at this point. It's because, like, what are you even doing here?
Yeah,
it's
man.
It's hilarious that, like, hey, we're here for the gimmicks, and then they're here for the actual wrestling.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Oh my goodness.
Like that's what they're there for, is to give them, like, oh, look, it's the characters of... It's like, it's the whole thing of, like, America's this bombastic shithole that's like, yeah, man, fucking hype and shit, and then in the UK's like, yeah, we're over here doing actual work.
the old country. But yeah, if you guys are big fans of wrestling, obviously this is one not to miss. If you want to get into the UK brand, you could start here, and I wouldn't think that there would be anything too out of place as well.
It's a far better jump-off point than the fucking tournament. The tournament lets you see everyone, but you don't need to see everyone. You just need to see like 3-4 people. And
this event gives you the best of those 3 and 4 people as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely go see this, and here's hoping that the UK division continues to grow.